jellyfish, one was all sizes. Welcome back to A.S.K's videos. If you're new here, I do cartoon reviews and give my opinions, and if you enjoy that kind of stuff, consider subscribing. So today we are reviewing a Fairly Oddparents Season 3 episode, The Secret Origin of Denzel Crocker. So don't forget to like and subscribe and comment down below any future topics you would like me to hit on, and I'll make sure to get to you. Be sure to check out my website and second channel in the description below, and card above for spoilers and other videos. And your viewer enjoyment matters to me, so make sure to turn the quality up to the highest and turn on captions if you like. And as always, in these new super reviews, link to the best footage of this episode on YouTube in the description below. So check it out if you haven't seen this yet or kind of forgot what happened. If you somehow find that the video has been taken down or something, please make sure to let me know. Anyways, let's start. This episode starts off with the kids playing at the school. Timmy reminds everyone that it's March 15th, which is a bad day for the kids because Crocker is at his worst on that specific day. Firstly, Timmy's saying that this is a little detail that kind of makes me smile. You see, when the main character is reminding everyone, it's pretty relatable that our specific main character is the smart one to remind everyone about an important day of the year. On the other hand, the kids' reactions are so huge and everyone's scared, so you'd think some kid would have had remembered to set an alarm or something. It's not that big of a deal, but little things add up. And also, why are all the kids of the school freaking out? Why are the little kids scared? I mean, Crocker does only teach Timmy's class, right? And even if he doesn't teach every single class in the entire school. And wait, how do the kids know that he's meanest on that particular day? Why would they care enough to remember every day and Crocker's level of rage? And they've known him for what, a year? 2 years? Even if Crocker was obviously meanest on March 15th, why would anyone remember until the next year to continue the pattern? This doesn't make any sense, but I mean, nothing is perfect. So, after just hiding, the kids flee to the school when Mr. Crocker arrives and gets out of his van. When he gets there, we see his high speak of spitefulness. He uses a magnet to hurt Chester's teeth, he hits AJ with a cheap pun, and he puts Timmy in the middle of rabid dogs with a dunce hat. Timmy asks Crocker why he's doing this, and Crocker yells about how he's a miserable loser working as a school teacher. His words, not mine. Then Timmy decides to go back in time to see how Crocker turned out this way. The dogs were previously chained, but when Timmy shows them cause them unwanted squirrels, the chains just magically disappear. We go to Crocker's house where his mom makes him a cake, and when Crocker is mean to her, she says,
"What happened to the perky little ball of sunshine that used to be my son? That child doesn't exist. I can't even remember a time when I was happy."
Well, March 14th was the happiest day of your life, so that's an exaggeration. So Timmy wishes he had his old time scooter, and they traveled to 10 years ago when he wasn't yet born. And the parents expected a daughter, which explains the pink cat, and Dad says,
"I'd be crushed if we had a son."
You know, I didn't like It's Wishful Life for a reason! Then we see how Dinkelberg moved next door, when Mr. Turner threw his for sale sign into Dinkelberg's feature lawn, which no one currently resides. Yes! So next time Mr. Turner says something about Dinkelberg, I'm just gonna say that it was his fault. Next, Dinkelberg says what a better house theirs is, which makes me wonder why the Turners didn't buy it. And they go in, ending their presents with this.
Hi, neighbor. I hope they don't have a boy.
Then they follow Crocker, in the 1990s, to the school.
Fairy Godparents!
Mr. Crocker! What have you done?
Approximately $1,800 worth of damage.
That's funny. Also, Waxoplax's name is Geraldine. That explains too much. But they see that even in the 90s, Crocker was still obsessed with fairies.
Those who become obsessed are often their own worst enemy.
Hey, cut that out.
Those who become obsessed are often their own worst enemy.
Ah! Okay, so then we go to the 80s. The jokes they tell are hilarious, and the stuff you'd expect from the show. Stuff like Timmy's clothes to the people and the door opening. We see that Crocker has some big news and he's telling the world today. And we see that Mr. Turner was a janitor at age 20. We also see that Timmy's mom was with Dinkelberg in the 80s. The health organization and government are also there to fund Crocker for research and his scientific discoveries. And then we see how Chet You Betcha shrunk. Apparently, the 80s cellular phone radiation shrunk him, and not anyone else. Wait, wasn't his apparent short size a genetic thing? Whatever. But what I noticed when writing the script of this video is that this is a big fan servicey special episode. It gives a lot. So we finally see Crocker's presentation. Time, 10 minutes in. I think 13 minutes is where to go to the real March 15th. It's good pacing, a bit more process time in the episode than solution time. Anyway, we see that even 20 years into the past, Crocker is still fairy obsessed. His presentation uses only pictures of Cosmo and Wanda for some reason, and it's not the old ones that were his fairies, because their art styles were different. Instead, he has close-up pictures of the 80s Cosmo and Wanda, which look a lot like the present Cosmo and Wanda for some reason. And they're right in the camera, like he was taking pictures and suddenly they came in front of the camera lens for him to get this, or something. Yeah, plot holes. The granddaddy of bad writing. But I mean, it's not a bad episode. Yes. After he finishes, the entire crowd laughs at him, and here's where I start to kind of feel bad for Crocker. Anyway, we see that Dinkelberg dumps Mrs. Turner, and Mr. Turner meets her for the first time here. Or was it that time where he had to win a race to get the girl? Oh no, it was that time where he sent her a ransom love letter. Come on, Fairly Oddparents, make up your freaking mind. Then, Timmy and Fairies go back another 10 years to the 70s, Crocker's childhood. And remember when I said it's best to start the childhood segment around 13 minutes? We go back to Crocker's childhood at 12.5 minutes. So, great pacing to the writers. We start with a joke about Cosmo being smart. Pretty normal and concise humor that you expect from the show. And if you were wondering, yes, I did laugh at Cosmo saying he broke a record with him being right once. Then we see that Mr. Turner as a kid is still Dinkelberg obsessed as he skateboards into the street, which he for some reason stays in the middle of, to be presumably crushed by a truck, as Crocker saves him. This is also where Waxelpax as a kid forms a crush over Crocker. Crocker also becomes famous for saving a child from presumable death, and the next day, March 15th, is declared Denzel Crocker Day. Also, the jokes they tell at the times are really funny, like the 70s having smiley faces everywhere. Comedy like this just makes this much more enjoyable. Anyway, Crocker goes home to his mom to give us some more backstory. We see Mrs. Crocker, as previously mentioned, ignores him and doesn't care about his achievement, and leaves him with his Vicky alternate babysitter. This tells a lot of story though. Crocker and Timmy are alternatives. Wow, like they're both miserable, bad parents, mad babysitter, fairies. And if you think I'm going on about nothing, Timmy legitimately says that himself. Oh, and with the fairies thing, yeah, he has Cosmo and Wanda. And when Timmy questions this, they say they don't remember that they were Mr. Crocker's fairies at some point. But they do remember that March 15th was the worst day ever for some reason, even though we see later that they got brainwashed multiple times after the events of March 15th. And that even though they don't remember anything else, they still remember that the day was the worst. Okay, never mind. Cut to the next day, finally March 15th, 1972. For the last time, you want to hear that date for the rest of your life. Again, you want to start the climax at the least possible time if you want to have good pacing. And they do. Time, 17 minutes. Anyway, we arrive at the Denzel Crocker ceremony, where Crocker gives a goofy egotistical speech, and Timmy is there watching. Then we get, I think, is the worst thing in this episode, Cosmo. Specifically, Cosmo's idiocy, and Wanda's absence causes this. And the problem on the writer's part is the reason we get Wanda's absence. Let me explain. So, the 70s Wanda apparently wants to get some granola to celebrate, even though they're fairies and they can literally poof off some granola or whatever plot device you need, but whatever. If poofing it required more time or explaining, which you couldn't have done, fine. But at least put some effort into Wanda's absence, which would later affect everything. Then we got the same thing with the present Cosmo and Wanda. So Timmy tells Wanda to kill the power while he gets Crocker out of there, even though he could, again, easily poof. But we need a plot device for Cosmo to be an idiot. But I'll admit the dialogue and excuse here is better than getting granola to celebrate. So this is the climax. Let's do this. So old Cosmo goes and almost reveals his fairiness, and Timmy stops him. And Wanda shuts down the power after these events, even though, again, she could have poofed it. And wait, if she poofed it earlier, this plot would be legitimately the same. If old Cosmo blurted out Denzel's secret, that doesn't mean that Denzel did it, so why lose his fairies? Then again, later Timmy is the one to blurt it out, and he does get him to lose his fairies. But Cosmo isn't a human, he's a fairy. Different story. Second, present Cosmo later switches the power back on, and Wanda isn't there to stop him. Which means even if Wanda poofed the power off, it would be the same. Heck, even better. Anyway, as present Cosmo switches the power, Timmy blurts out in excruciating detail that Crocker has fairies. Although his detail is questionable, props to the team working on this for actually making Denzel losing his fairies pretty emotional. From Timmy's words repeating on the mic, to the color palette layer they decided to use, to the music they decided to play, to the falling of the rulebook, to even Jorgen's voice. Anyway, as Jorgen lectures Denzel, Timmy wishes he was hidden. And even though Denzel clearly saw and even stated that Timmy has fairies, nothing happens to Timmy. Jorgen erases everyone's memory but Denzel. Without Jorgen looking at him for like 20 seconds, writes a reminder to his future self that fairies do exist. This is one of the small touches in this that I really enjoy, because we ultimately need a reason why Crocker is always fairy obsessed from that day on. And a small nitpick, but if Jorgen erased everyone's memories and literally everything that has to do with him having fairies and knowing about them, so why doesn't that erase the writing on the back of that DNA scanner thing? Then we see a quite sad yet quite cool transformation as Crocker turns dark and evil, and when Jorgen leaves, the town turns on him, which I find quite cruel and unneeded. You see, Jorgen said that he's erasing everyone's minds of the situation and erase all the things he wished with his fairies, but Denzel saved Mr. Turner earlier by himself, right? If he did, this doesn't make sense. If he didn't but used fairies, we needed to know that earlier or have some foreshadowing or something. Timmy leaves and Crocker goes to presumably live a cold and miserable life opening a candle shop in Alabama. Then we go back to the present as Timmy looks through some pictures of Crocker he shouldn't have, and Cosmo says, and I quote, "At least you gave him a lifelong hobby." Well, technically it was you, Cosmo. And second, yeah. So just like Turner and Dinkelberg, next time Timmy complains about being miserable, I'll remember to play this episode for him. And the episode ends with a joke. So that's that. So what are the main pros and cons with this episode? Well, there's a lot of funny jokes in this, and the plot is pretty decent and well thought out. The characters, for the most part, are pretty well done, and the dialogue is okay. The pacing is pretty smooth, and there weren't any rushed or too slow moments. A lot of moments were pretty memorable and classic, such as Crocker's hilarious moments, the ending pictures, or some of the jokes like Cosmo hitting Timmy with the orb. If you want to do your own little checklist, check out my super discussions on what are the fundamentals of storytelling. It helped me write the script a bit faster. Some cons are that there was a lot of annoying plot holes, mostly from the dialogue and subplots sprinkled in this episode, such as a Chet You Betcha shrinking scene, but also from the main plot as well, like Denzel losing his fairies in the first place when it was Tim who said it because he came back in time, or how if he saved Mr. Turner by himself with no magic, how everyone turns on him. These are really the only things that bring this episode down. Otherwise, a pretty solid and well-made episode. So, is this a good episode? Well, I did enjoying it, and some of the jokes were pretty funny. It brought a lot of fan service with it, and that made it pretty enjoyable. But there were a lot of plot holes that were super crucial to the plot. But in terms of the video, I'd say it's a good episode/special, and I would give it a 7.5 out of 10. Anyways, don't forget to leave your thoughts on the episode in the comments down below. Like the video if you enjoyed, and subscribe if you like what you see. If you're new, feel free to check out my YouTube homepage for videos, and check out my website for links and tons of spoilers. Links, as always, in the description below and card up above. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace.